touch and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of this and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
At the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, and monitoring and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. For more information, email us at info@adstudiescenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit our website www.adstudiescenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
For more than a century, Zambia has stood as a prominent figure in the mining sector, particularly renowned for its copper production, which remains a cornerstone of the nation's economy. Accounting for 3/4 of the country's export earnings, mining plays a pivotal role in Zambia's economic landscape. The focal point of this mining activity is the Copperbelt province, home to major copper mines like Lumwana and Konkola, alongside Sentinel in the northwestern province. These mines, operated by renowned international firms such as Barrick and Vendetta Resources, hold majority foreign ownership, with Zambia Consolidated Copper Mine Investment Holdings retaining minority stakes. Smaller mines in the Copperbelt region, backed by investors from countries like China, Brazil, and South Africa, contribute to Zambia's diversified mining landscape. However, the country's mining sector faces various challenges, hindering the potential growth trajectory. Fiscal policies introduced by the government, including royalty increases, the taxation policies, have negatively impacted mining profitability. Also, price volatility in global markets, infrastructural deficiencies like inadequate transportation networks, power shortages, and an uncertain regulatory environment further increases the sector's challenges. Moreover, labor disputes, safety concerns, and geopolitical risks stemming from political instability poses additional hurdles to Zambia's mining sector. To propel the nation towards its 3 million tons copper production goal, strategic measures are crucial, and these include leveraging digital technology through partnerships with AI and machine learning firms to enhance sector's efficiency and investment, stable policy framework in order to attract and retain investment, and provision of a conducive regulatory environment. Infrastructure strengthening supported by donor funding and concessional financing can also alleviate critical constraints such as transportation and power shortages. More so, environmental conservation is vital for sustainable development. Hence, mining companies must provide government-approved environmental management plans, prioritize durable equipment, and proper waste disposal techniques to minimize environmental degradation. Giving copper's expected dominance in Zambia's exports, maintaining its position as Africa's economic hub demands a concerted effort. Israel Adeyemi, Souq News. Palm oil has long been a vital component of Nigeria's agricultural heritage, with roots tracing back to pre-colonial times. Originally serving local needs, its importance has grown exponentially, propelling Nigeria into a prominent global producer. Spread across regions like Edo, Delta, Cross River, and Ondo states, the country boasts extensive plantations and advanced processing capabilities. It takes about 4 years for oil palms to produce fruit suitable for harvest. Each tree will then continue to produce fruit for up to 30 years, at which point they will have grown to around 40 feet tall. According to reports, Nigeria's palm oil production increased to 1.4 million metric tons in 2023, witnessing steady growth since 2009, with a peak surge in 2010. Despite a surge in domestic consumption, reaching 1.8 million metric tons in the 2021-2022 crop year, Nigeria still imports 350,000 metric tons, primarily from China and Malaysia. Similarly, some of the challenges plaguing the sector include declined production, outdated equipment, and insufficient financing, resulting in
Hello and welcome to the World News, reaching you live from our studios at Souq News Television. I am Oyin Priya Krumale. And now we begin in the United States, where inflation has increased to 3% in January, surpassing economists' expectation of 2.9%, driven by higher food and energy prices. This marks the highest inflation rate in 6 months, posing a challenge to President Donald Trump's administration as it navigates economic policy. The rise in prices, particularly for essentials like cars, insurance, airfare, medicine, and groceries, highlights persistent inflationary pressures. Egg prices surged over 15% due to avian flu-related shortages, while rent and housing costs increased by 4.4% over the year. Core inflation, which excludes food and energy, rose by 0.4% over the month, the fastest pace since March. Economists warn that inflation rise, exacerbated by potential tariff hikes, could impact future Federal Reserve policy, making interest rate cut less likely in the near term. Markets reacted to the report with a decline in Wall Street stocks and rising interest rates on United States government debt, reflecting expectations that borrowing costs will remain higher for a longer period of time. Now, still in the United States of America, Donald Trump's administration has announced the closure of its federal employee buyout program, which offered workers 8 months of pay to resign. The decision follows a court ruling allowing the initiative to proceed despite legal challenges from the unions. Approximately 75,000 federal employees opted into the program before its closure. Spearheaded by Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, the initiative aimed to reduce the size of the federal workforce. The offer extended to full-time federal employees, excluding military and security personnel, were framed as a cost-saving measure for taxpayers. Critics, including unions and Democratic lawmakers argue that the plan could lead to a brain drain in the government, with concerns over job security and funding. The American Federation of Government Employees called the program unfair and illegal, claiming it pressured workers to resign without assurance of full compensation. Judge George O. Tolley ruled that unions lacked standing to challenge the program, paving the way for its continuation. While the White House has not commented on the ruling, the AFGE has vowed to explore further legal actions, according to reports. Meanwhile, tech billionaire Elon Musk had urged the United States government to completely eliminate federal agencies rather than reduce them piecemeal, arguing that particular courts are ineffective. Speaking at the World Government Summit via video link, Musk compared federal bureaucracy to weeds, saying, quote, "If you don't remove roots, it's easy for the weed to grow back," end quote. He emphasized the need for sweeping cuts to streamline government operations and reduce inefficiencies. Musk, who was appointed by President Donald Trump as a special government employee and head of the Department of Government Efficiency, has been leading efforts to downsize the federal workforce. He claims these initiatives could cut the U.S. federal deficit by $1 trillion by 2026. While Musk and Trump framed these cuts are essential for government efficiency, critics argue that they could have major consequences, particularly in global human efforts. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to meet United States President Donald Trump, bringing trade concessions and business deals to strengthen ties. With Trump pushing aggressive trade policies, India hopes to ease tensions by promising increased purchases of liquefied natural gas, combat vehicles, and jet engines. Despite a previously warm relationship, Trump has criticized India's trade practices, making this meeting crucial for future economic cooperation. Now, the White House will now reopen for public tours starting on Tuesday, February 25, 2025. First Lady Melania Trump confirmed this in a statement and expressed excitement about welcoming visitors back, emphasizing the opportunity to explore the history of the American presidency and the first families who have lived there. Melania Trump described the White House as a unique symbol of American democracy, offering an experience unlike any other worldwide. She noted that the reopening continues to be a long-standing tradition, allowing visitors to gain first-hand insight into the nation's rich history. According to statement, self-guided tours will be available on select weekdays, excluding federal holidays. Now, away from the United States of America, Elon Musk's Boring company is set to develop the Dubai Loop, an underground transportation system aimed at easing the city's traffic congestion. Announced at the World Government Summit in Dubai, Musk described the project as a wormhole solution for commuters, allowing them to travel rapidly between different parts of the city. The Dubai government will collaborate with Musk's company to implement the system in high-traffic areas. Speaking via satellite, Musk expressed enthusiasm, saying once people try it, they will find it really cool. While no launch date was announced, the project aims to provide a reliable, weather-resistant alternative to traditional road transportation.
We have an announcement today that we both want to share, which is today we're going to announce the joint project of Dubai Loop, which is a loop project that is going to cover Dubai's most densely populated areas for people to go from point to point in a seamless manner. So thank you for your partnership. And
well, thank you.
We hope it changes people's lives.
Yes, that'll be cool. I think it'll be very exciting. I think once people try it out, they'll be like, wow, this is really cool. And it's going to seem so obvious in retrospect, but until you actually do it, you don't know. So it's going to be great. It's going to be like a wormhole. Like you just wormhole from one part of the city, boom, and you're out in another part of the city.
You're watching the world news on Souq News Television. Coming up, OPEC maintains oil demand growth and the forecast amid market uncertainty. We have details of this story and more after this timeout. Just stay with us. Welcome back. OPEC has reaffirmed its forecast for strong global oil demand growth in 2025, expecting an increase of 1.45 million barrels per day, following 1.43 billion barrels in 2026. The projections remain unchanged despite uncertainties surrounding trade policies under the new U.S. administration. The report emphasized the rising air and road travel will continue to drive consumption and stated that potential tariffs are not expected to significantly impact economic growth. However, OPEC acknowledged that trade policies could create short-term supply-demand imbalances. Meanwhile, oil prices remain steady following the report, with Brent crude oil trading near $76 per barrel. Abu Dhabi's AD Ports Group has secured a contract to manage and operate AI Madone Customs Center in Amman, Jordan. The 1.3 million square meter facility, which opened last June, aims to enhance cross-border trade, reduce clearance times, and improve supply chain efficiency. Equipped with automated inspection ramps, smart warehouses, and predictive analytics, the center is expected to cut clearance times by 20% and handle around 1,000 trucks in the import and transit yard. This move strengthened the UAE-Jordan trade relations, which reached AED 15.4 billion in 2023, doubling over the last decade. The AD Ports is also working on a port community system for the Aqaba in collaboration with Makta Technologies and the Aqaba Development Corporation. Now, South Korea's market has imposed fines on JP Morgan, the Morgan Stanley, Nomura, and UBS for breaching short-selling regulations in the domestic stock market. The Financial Supervisory Service confirmed the decision made by the Securities and Futures Commission, but withheld specific details. Under South Korean law, short-selling stocks without security term first is strictly prohibited. While JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley declined to comment, Nomura stated that it was unaware of any ruling. You're still watching the world news on Souq News Television. We have more stories in a moment, to stay with us. Now, African leaders are convening in Addis Ababa for the 38th African Union Summit, focusing on reparations for slavery and colonialism under the theme Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations. The summit aims to develop a unified vision encompassing financial compensation from an acknowledgement of past injustices, policy reforms and restitution, and the return of cultural artifacts. Despite growing momentum for reparatory justice, former colonial powers, including the United States and European nations, have largely resisted discussions on reparations. U.S. President Donald Trump has dismissed the possibility, and many European leaders have opposed engaging in such dialogues. The African Union emphasizes that reparations extended beyond financial compensation, aiming to address systemic racism, economic disparities, and the enduring impacts of colonialism and slavery. The summit also highlights the need for policy changes to rectify ongoing inequalities and calls for international bodies to hold former colonial powers accountable. Now, European Union will support Nigeria's transition to cleaner, sustainable energy by promoting clean cooking solutions, especially in rural areas. The INGA Stefanovic, head of Section for Green and Digital Economy at the EU delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS, emphasized that prioritizing these solutions can reduce reliance on traditional fuels, curb deforestation, improve public health, and create economic opportunities. At a recent awareness event in Plateau State, Stefanovic highlighted that only 30% of Nigerians currently use clean cooking methods, with many still dependent on firewood and charcoal. These traditional practices contribute to environmental degradation and expose millions to harmful indoor air pollution, leading to serious health challenges. She referenced a 2018 World Health Organization report indicating that household air pollution caused 218,000 deaths in Nigeria that year. The EU's commitment includes initiatives like the Nigerian Energy Support Program, co-funded by Germany, focusing on clean cooking, rural electrification, and diversifying energy sources. Stefanovic stated, quote, "Together we can improve these lives and protect the environment and contribute to economic growth," end quote. The EU aims to advance sustainable energy solutions, particularly in underserved rural communities. And with that, it is a wrap on the world news at this hour. Many thanks for watching, but do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at Souq News TV. I am Oyin Priye Krumale. Good afternoon.
1957, just a greenhorn, leaving school and looking for a job, going into broadcasting was something that I dreamt of. But that's only meant going into radio, because my old school, Holy Child College, still on the same site in Obalende, 2 streets away from the old NBC. I still can't forgive whoever changed the name to something else that is being called now FRCN. Because if the BBC remains BBC 100 years after the founding fathers, dreamt of starting television, radio from, all the war years and learning a bit from America. It all started from America. Because we were taught about all this. Every time they took us from school to take part in, schools debates on radio, we just walked across. It's all in Obalende and Ikoyi, Balende/Ikoyi. So I dreamt of doing something along the line. And then one of my teachers left us high and dry. He went to be a newsreader on radio. Marie Tabio, who later became Mrs. Irikefe. Then we had people like Tung Adedoyin and Souq. We used to listen to them on radio on the old, you wouldn't know anything about that now, the rediffusion. It was just, a little box in your home, and everybody looked forward to either listening to the 7 o'clock news in the morning or 6 o'clock or 7 in the evening. So that was all really all I had to do with broadcasting. And who was going to take me there was another matter altogether. Who would take you, little 16, 17-year-old girl, into broadcasting? But one had been bitten by the bug then. So, and only God knows where whatever dream you had was going to lead to. We read poetry, we did radio show, stage shows in school. The Catholic schools were very good for that. And my old school, just celebrating 150 years of its existence, just down the road from here on Broad Street. The nuns, they were all white nuns. No Nigerian nuns at the time that we were growing up. So all the dream they had, this kind of dream that we have now, going to England, but they were coming here to teach us. So I had learnt a lot of poetry, I had taken part in Festival of Arts, and I had gone to, the biggest hall we had then was at King's College, which is also down the road. Means of transportation was your SS foot. No BRT, no bicycles or whatever. So we did it all just walking around and learning from our teachers. And of course, our mentors were the nuns, like I said. So in my wildest dream, there was no way that I was thinking of going into anything like broadcasting. That is going back to answer your question. But they had a lot of plans for the girl child. And not along the religious lines now. But actually, they came to actually engender this whole idea of pushing the girl child forward. And not just me, a lot of us. People like Mrs. Francesca Emmanuel, they also went through the whole gamut of all this dream that I'm talking about. Television itself was brand new in the world. I have to talk about radio because that was what I knew as a child. But television, when it started, we didn't even know. Maybe in America, and then it went to Australia, and then to France. No. France came after Nigeria. You wouldn't believe that, would you? That we were number 6. America, Britain, Germany, Australia, one other country, and coming now home to Nigeria, where you cannot help but give a lot of credit to the dreams of people like the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo and one of his ministers then, Chief Anthony Enahoro. So that's how I believe this whole package was placed on their laps and sold to Nigeria, to the Western Nigeria government. On the radar were lots of other people like me who had dreams about becoming Miss Nigeria. So maybe that will now give you a little background about how I took part in the Miss Nigeria pageant, Western Nigeria, and I became Miss Western Nigeria. Somebody must have fine-tuned some little knots somewhere and said, okay, you probably might be able to deliver. Because you are being interviewed when you go before the panel of judges. And somebody must have said, okay, that's a good material, you can come and take part in this. Before then, we had other people, Anike Agbaje Williams, Poliola Sokwe, who were working on radio. My dream was to work in radio, but then I missed that. And I was nursing, that dream of still going to radio. Never knew what television was all about. So maybe that answers your question, I'm not sure. But I took part in the Miss Western Nigeria pageant and I won. Took part in the Miss Nigeria contest and came second. So that meant that I didn't win. And if one of the, maybe the prize was to go on TV, it wasn't even there. It wasn't written into the, program that whoever did this, but the person was going to go to England. And so Helena Yemeluna, who won that contest, went to London and fulfilled her own dream. But I was still biting my nails, waiting for when I'll be able to get a job. There were other things that girls could do. You could be a nurse, you could be a teacher, you could be an assistant, a dental assistant. All those were things that young ladies, can, fulfill their dreams along those lines. They're still there. You still have young ladies. Mrs. Muritala Muhammad, the first time I met her, she was a dental assistant. Little did we know that her husband was going to be the head of state and she would be first. So you see, lots of things were there for the young girl who wanted to learn, who had the talent, and who wanted to perform, and who wanted to work hard. But now I don't know if girls want to work hard. All they want is, the table to be set, and then they come and, partake of whatever is there. It wasn't too difficult at the time that I was picked as one of the people to come and appear in WNTV. The audition was actually carried out before my time. I got involved in so many other things, trying to get a job, something to secure, something, to alleviate poverty. There was not too much poverty in Nigeria at the time because people could still eke a living for themselves and, get by in society. But I was lucky that I had an aunt who was a nurse in the hospital in Ibadan, UCH in Ibadan. And she was married to an Englishman, and the man's friend happened to have been the man, Mr. Mathers, who was brought as one of the technical partners to WNTV. So we met at a dinner party, and just as you and I are chatting, I was only 18 plus. I was 17 when I took part in the pageant. But by this time I was growing up, and I thought I was a big girl. So I opened my mouth and I said a few things. And the man looked at me and said, "How come you are not speaking with a Nigerian accent?" And I didn't know what he meant because we were taught at St. Mary's to deliver whatever lines we were given to deliver. The Festival of Arts, I came second after an English boy from Corona School. And I was given a beating for coming second. Not because I didn't perform well, but because I forgot to curtsy. And one of the judges, I think, who was then Mrs. Abayomi, Lady Abayomi, said that I delivered my lines very well. So I was the Lord of Tartary, I would do this and that and the other. So I came second. And when I got back to the school, the nun, Sister Marieta, said, you were not paying attention. So whatever you do in life, you have to be consistent, you have to perform well. The way we're trying to do now, the way we're trying to project your voice and whatever it is you have to offer with a lot of humility, not trying to show off or to project your own image, or whatever message you have to deliver, you have to make sure that it is well delivered. The following year, St. Mary's Convent School, which is my old school, which is 150 years old in existence, went to the same King's College Hall, and we beat a lot of secondary schools. We came first. Pied Piper of Hamelin. Have you ever heard of that poet? Pied Piper of Hamelin was about someone who wanted to get rid of all the rats in Europe. And all he did was to play the pipe. So that is what we were more or less doing. That's what you and I have done. Being a Pied Piper, trying to get off all the ills in society. That's the main job of a broadcaster. There's so many things happening in the country, and it's only TV and radio that binds the country together. If the country falls apart tomorrow, you will rely on someone from radio or from television to make the announcement, to introduce the head of state who had just won the election or the one who had just taken over. It's a huge responsibility. At that age, at 19, we had to introduce people like Chief Obafemi Awolowo on TV. We had to introduce people like Akintola, Oladoke Akintola, as the premier. And when everything broke down and it all went into smithereens, they brought in Chief Majekodumi as the administrator of the Western region. All this happening before our eyes. There were no other stations in the country except WNTV. And we were there, so we learned quite a lot. In fact, I believe that the whole country revolves around broadcasting. And if you are part of that organization, how would you feel at my age, at 80-something? As young people, perhaps you don't know all this history that I'm telling you about. It's a long, long story. But when you sit down, you have to put it all into perspective. You see that, well, some people are actually meant to be in different positions. Some people are meant to be doctors. Some people are meant to be nurses. For those of us that are in broadcasting, it's a huge responsibility. It's a passion. Sometimes you don't even know how you got there in the first place. Or somebody may have discovered you. It's like being in Hollywood in those days. Someone has to develop, so you have the talent, the latent talent, and then somebody will discover you. So that's how I was discovered by Mr. Mathers at a dinner. I was put in that place because I had won the Miss Western Nigeria contest. If I hadn't done that, I probably would be somewhere in the kitchen washing plates, washing all the dishes. So there you are, if that answers your question. Well, there's no one that actually picks someone and puts you plonk without, I mean, of course, if you don't have any experience on the job, you have no business being there in the first place. But if I had taken part in Pied Piper of Hamelin towns in Brunswick, I was only 13. By a famous Hanover city, I was speaking like an English person. When I was only a Nigerian, little girl, being nurtured, by my mother, who was a seamstress, how would you ever get there? But you already have that background, that solid background on the rock, as it were. So by the time I was ready to go on TV, I had learnt from all the other, people that I mentioned their names earlier, like Anike Agbaje Williams. And I wouldn't say it was easy, because you always have that, butterfly fluttering in front of the camera or wherever. I think I took to television like I was meant to be there. With all humility. If I had been groomed by all these nuns that I have mentioned their names, they came to Nigeria to serve the people. They were not earning salaries, To become a nun, you have to take the oath of obedience, chastity, poverty, and all that. So you're not earning a salary. But whoever is there now is thinking of how much money he's going to get from whatever take comes from here, there, and yonder. So they taught us well. And nobody said you're going to go and appear on TV or you're going to be on radio. But just do what you're meant to do properly. With a lot of sense of responsibility and diligence. And that stands at the back of your mind. That goes everywhere with you, wherever you go in life. Even when I was nursing a sick child, my late son was a sick child. And I was meant to take part in Verdict 79 with my colleagues Kerry Ahmed and Adamu Aogi. They all came with me to the hospital, which is just next door here. And then we came back and mounted the podium and continued our business as if nothing was happening. He didn't die at the time, of course, but the job must go on. That is always there at the back of your mind. So my first night, I wouldn't say that I didn't have any jitters, that I was not nervous. But I was able to deliver, and I think that was the staying power. That was what kept me going, because other people came on board. I was not the only one. All the members of the board had their own, little nephews and nieces that they wanted to project on TV. They all came and they couldn't make it. But Anike and I kept going. And if you gave me a script now, I think I would try and... We didn't have too many, teleprompters. Well, I was very good at, I had a photographic memory. So I was able to get hold of the script, and in less than 60 seconds, I'll be able to deliver it straight to the camera. That was one of the assets that I had also, which was God's gift. It's not by own might or whatever you think you have. You have the talent, of course, but also there has to be some other little bits of gifts that will help you to project the image of the professional. A lot of controversy. There is hardly any TV, radio, movie personality that can scale through that without any, because people are watching, people are trying to find their own little, bits of criticism here, there, and yonder. You can't be a goodie, 2 shoots without, any, how shall I say it, problem here, there, and yonder. So everybody has their own way of looking at people. People say, well, what has she got to do? She went to take part in Miss Western Nigeria the other day. So what's the big deal about her? And then somebody will still add their own salt and pepper here and there. But I was lucky that I was being nurtured by someone like G.O.S. Benson, who was then our Minister for Information. And he felt that, everything should not stop here. There were things happening in America. He made sure that my name was there. I was at the inauguration of President Johnson, Lyndon Johnson. And we commanded a lot of attention there, myself and my colleague who came from Lagos, the station in Lagos. And for the president to notice that there were 2 black people sitting behind him at his inaugural ball, I think it was very overwhelming for me because not many black people had invitation to that event. But Charity Adadevo and I were there, and he stood up and shook our hands where we were sitting behind, 3 rows behind the president. Then Kennedy had died, and we were still nothing, we were still feeling very hot about, the loss of Kennedy. And here was the new president coming up. We were not particularly keen on being welcomed by him. But then, things like that happen to you, and it makes headline news. 2 black people, they didn't even say Nigerians. They thought we were from Ghana because some journalists came around and said, how is your man Nkrumah? And we said, no, our own Prime Minister is Tafawa Balewa. They never heard of him then. But then they had to go and carry out their own study and find out who Tafawa Balewa was. And of course, the whole country was very proud of us that we went and actually stole the show at the inauguration of President Lyndon Johnson. So many other things happened. When I came to London, the British Information Office, they were trying to look for someone to host their program. That has happened to be around, so they picked me to host their program. But you don't ad-lib on any of those stations. Everything is written out. The questions, even your answer will be written. You can change it around a little bit, but they make sure that you said the right thing at the right time. So that was how we were able to gain attention. German television also invited us because they were interested in Nigeria. See how the German Chancellor came to Nigeria. That was what happened at the time. In 1963, we had just become a republic then, from being an independent station in 1960. By 1963, we then became a republic. And we were chosen to go and appear on German television in Berlin. And they wanted a little bit of culture. So Benson had his own band. So we were chosen to go and represent Nigeria then. Nobody knew who the ambassador was, but they wanted to know who was presenting something on TV. So that's how important television has been. And that, in fact, we were the first television in the whole of Africa. The very first station, WNTV, that was a call signal. WNTV, first in Africa. There's nothing like that now. Nobody wants to know whether you are first or second. But the station that is being run in Nigeria, I think, has the largest number of stations than any other country in Africa, about 21 stations. And now it's still, still counting. And yours is coming on board, and so many others. I think next to America, Nigeria should have been the best country for television broadcasting in the whole world. There's not so many countries in the world that has as many stations as Nigeria. We only have to put our heads together. We only have to find joy in whatever we're doing. Sometimes when it's raining, people say, oh, it's raining, and they feel very bad about the rain. But if you look closely, behind that rain, there will be sunshine, there will be something else coming on. You see some silver clouds coming during the rain, but Nigerians don't have the patience to wait for that kind of thing. That's what television teaches you. If you're in the studio, you don't know what's happening outside. You just get on with the job. That's what we were taught. We were taught not by Nigerians. Even when we started, we couldn't go on air and ad-lib. There was always someone there, Mr. Blackledge, to write the script. And if you can commit that to memory and deliver it, you're home and dry. It's not everyone that has a gift, not everyone that has a talent. It's God-given. And if you listen as a child at 17, 18, 19, at my own age, I learned from school, and I was able to impart this into the job. So within a few months, we got double promotion, all of us, because we were doing very well. Anike Agbadi was excellent. Olasope was superb. And so many other people reading the news. We were the first female to read the news. Women were not allowed to read the news. Nigeria started it. BBC wouldn't allow a woman to pick up a script and read the news. But we were already there. So that's how we were able to gain this global attention that you mentioned. It's not easy. It's not easy. Like I said, when we were taught by, not by Nigerians. But somebody came along the line and said, we don't have to speak like English people. You can just carry on and use your own parochial background. If you are a Roboman, you can speak English the way you like. That was his own idea. Because he didn't believe in us doing all this la-di-da and trying to, say things the proper way. But that watered down the standards a bit. Because then everybody, maybe he had a relation who wanted to appear on TV, and he wasn't allowed to because he couldn't speak like Ikenna Ndagoba or Bodelalade and things like that, or Friday Ifode or Mike Enahoro. So somebody must have gone to him and said, because he doesn't speak like any of those people who were taught by, foreign teachers, people who had learned, people who knew what a DJ, we had a Bible then, that you had to pronounce your words correctly. So he came and said, now that I'm DG, I'm not going to tolerate all this, your English way of speaking. And some other people, of course, that watered down the standards. That's not our making. We were still ready to continue the way we were doing, but then they pushed us to the background. But there were others who were able to perform well. Ruth Benamesia, Opia, Siene Oweber, and of course Bimbo Oloyede, who was born in England. If you already employed those people to deliver the goods and to present your programs, you're not going to sack all of them because they speak with English accent. I don't see how that can be an offense. Cannot be, guilty of speaking English well, like the English people. But they then brought out other people. And you had the head of presentation. I became head of the presentation after I came under Ndagoba. And you're trying to prepare your roster. You wanted to put such people online to read the network news. They say, okay, bring somebody who can speak like General Didu and do a little bit of Ewe on the side. It's part of our culture. So that is what is happening to TV broadcasting in Nigeria. It's all very interesting. So, this cultural milieu and bringing, a touch of Nigeria. Nigeria is doing well. In that aspect, in the music world, I think we're leading. Some of us who grew up on Handel's Messiah and Mozart, we have to sort of put our hands behind our back now and watch, all the way things have turned around. And Nigerian music is doing well. Afrobeat is reigning everywhere in the world. So really you can't find faults with that. So when they watch a bit of Fela and his children and all his grandchildren doing well, then listen to the channels on TV, you have to take what you get from there as well. If somebody can wake up one day and say, why should your station be called the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation? I say it should now be Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. Tongue twisting. Takes a long time to come to terms with. If everyone wake up in the morning and say, this is Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, you have the call signal. Da 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 da. This is the Nigerian Broadcasting whatever. How are you going to put that, into context with the new one? First of all, when you wake up, you don't know whether you are even coming out of the right side of your bed or not. You are going to have to face your audience and say, we are no more the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. We are now Federal whatever, which you don't even know where the man, who came up with the idea. He didn't even consult you, didn't even put it to test. If the British corporation, they are going to change from BBC after 100 years, they will ask the whole nation, they will say, where are we going to take this from? They will ask everybody, they will do a census, they will do all kinds of things, carry out all kinds of tests to see whether people will accept it from them. No. Nigerians are very hard and cut and dry. This is the way I want it. I'm the head of state, so I can change everything now and, all of you can start marching forward and march back again. Soldier go, soldier come. I think Fela would have been a good head of state for Nigeria because he would have got some people marching the right way. So, I think that is what has happened to this country. But we will still settle down. The soldiers that have been marching since, they will do attention one day. And then we'll be able to sort ourselves out gradually. I think we're going through the right process now. People are beginning to find their own feet. If things go around, price of goods go up, Nigerians will find a way to come to terms with that. When we were growing up, everything was done. We won't say according to the colonial rules and regulations, but at least there were standards that were set down for you and things that you had to toe the line. This is the proper way to do things. But if somebody says, no, let's turn around and turn it upside down. First stack. It's the only thing that has moved to the whole world from Nigeria, that shook the whole world, that brought everybody attention to see what Africa has to offer the whole world. It happened here on this soil in Nigeria. I was a member of the ceremonial committee. I remember the opening ceremony. There were about 15 heads of state. We've never had anything like that since then. That is what we should ask ourselves. Every head of state that takes over from Nigeria should find out again. It's not from broadcasting that you can get the answer. You can get the answer from technocrats who had worked in all those areas. What happened? How come it couldn't happen again? It's like Armageddon. Every country was represented. Every culture was represented. Miriam Akiva was watching us and called us at the station one day and said, even from the way we linked programs, they couldn't expect that it could be happening in Nigeria. We received phone calls. People were sending us bottles of champagne on the air. The links. Bimbo Oloyede was there with me. I was at the opening ceremony. I was yanked from there to come back to the station from, interacting with the head of state or with our head of state at the time to come and man the station because what was phenomenal. How come we've not been able to do it? 77 years, how long ago was that? I was only 37 years old then. I'm going on 90 now. It hasn't happened again. We should examine that. Even the head of state that was there is still alive. Let us ask him again. Let us put him down and say, Oga, please explain to us what happened. Some people came up with a theory that the symbol that was used was fetish, that is what has happened and Nigeria has turned upside down. If that is acceptable, it may be superstitious in your eyes, but let us find out. Let's not call the Babalawo. Is it bad that it is a Nigerian that carved this image? And it is making news outside the world. Now you say, no, it is not good that Nigeria should be able to project an image that would attract the whole world, something that will bring everybody on their knees. After the first attack, we were still recovering, just batting in the glory of first attack. What's this artist, the blind one, who was not part of it, who didn't believe in it? He came and had his own first attack, all on his own, from America. Stevie Wonder, he came with his own team. We had to mount all the cameras back in the studio for him. He had his own 7-day festival here in Nigeria. What prompted him to do that? Other people came. They wanted to know what was happening in Nigeria. What has happened? We couldn't have another festival since then.
What do you think went wrong?
Nothing went wrong. Everything went so well that people wanted to destroy our own Nigerian people, wanted to destroy the glory that's this whole thing that's emanated from it. It hit the whole world. People are asking, when you go to Britain, you say, what happened? Why aren't you having? I had a friend who was head of the, he was from the British Guyana, a black guy. He was friends with everybody. He knew all Nigerians. Said, what happened? Why are we going to have another festa? Professor Ian Hall, he keeps asking me. Even if we can't have it because it was very expensive anyway, Nigeria had all the money. Even though we had a coup after, it was first of all the brainchild of Gawan. And then Muritala came on board. Muritala was killed, but in spite of that, they couldn't kill that dream of having a festa in Nigeria. If we are able to bring out all those programs again, I think we'll be able to answer those questions. I'm still alive. There are a lot of people who will still want to know the answer to that. It's a very, very brilliant question that you have asked. I think if it was another country, we'll set up an inquiry and say, what happened? Can we resuscitate this whole dream? Some of the tapes that we had then in WNTV, some people put them in one place and set fire to them because they felt maybe somebody in their religious organization said, you are the one projecting all these things, so Nigerians are bringing idols around. Who gave them the idea to make the idol? It's God now. It's from God. Whatever thing you were able to put together. The Bible was put together because God loved the world so much and He wanted us to learn about, things that had gone out from the time of Adam and Eve. God loved the whole world and created Muhammad and said, put people together and let them say Allah Akbar every day, morning, noon, night. God created so many wonderful things for us, so many images that we can imbibe from, so many things that we can learn from. People want to come and learn about our country. Instead, we say, we want our sculptures back. What are you going to do with them? You don't have a museum where you're going to put them make them thrive and people come here to Nigeria. It's a good idea for them to come, but if they learn about your country, what your people have done over the past 2,000 years. 2,000 years of Nigeria image was put together by the BBC. Nigeria went and tore it up in shreds. He tore it up. He said, what are you doing with that? What you call bad belly. I don't know if anybody sang a song with that title. If we maybe start from there and say, what do you do with your own bad belly? Some people, theatre stadium. There is no theatre in England, in London, that I know that have gone to watch plays and things that have not been in existence for over 500 years. So many studios. We have one big one, the dream of Nigerians. And now we want to go and do banking there. We want to go and do trade. It's supposed to be for culture, for our own culture. Lagos State will be dragging federal government by the neck and say, no, we own the theatre now. And we want somebody to come and do something there. If we can only put all these things behind us, the evil that people have done in the past, people like Julius Caesar, when they were writing all those, when Shakespeare was writing all those things like that have happened in the past. We should examine them. Get people like Wole Soyinka to sit down and rewrite the whole history again. If they ask me questions like you're asking me now, I will be there to answer. Because I saw it all unfold before my eyes. The image of Nigeria will come tops. All the stations in Nigeria should get involved and do stories on this question that you've asked me. A very salient question, and I love it so much. That might be able to revive the image of this country and let us know where we are heading, in what direction, and bring us back to really the point of salvation. Well, I haven't seen it. I must have mentioned it somewhere. I think on one of the channels when they was trying to build the scandal around it, and I said, and I tried to put the record straight that wasn't really what happened, and that it was from, I think it was from a book that was written by one of the wives that said that I was party to his breakdown of their marriage. And I was trying to put the record straight that wasn't really the true picture. I have due respect. I have to, bow wherever I come in the presence of a president of this nation, past, present, or even present, yes. I hope I'll still be around when we have others coming on board. But I was taken aback that the head of state asked me a question that, because in the past, we were in the studios when the head of state came, and we were given scripts. If there had been, there have been several coups, and it's always the presenter or the station like that, the managers that take the brunt of the whole, the issue when things like that happen. You don't know who is coming. You don't know how many jeeps are going to be coming in. You don't know how many, what you call all those heavy equipment that they drive in as they are coming into the studio. You don't know where they are going to shoot the station down. Nobody knows that. It's only the people who have worked during that period that can relay those experiences. Sometimes you're at work in the morning, by the time you come back in the afternoon, the government has changed. And if you haven't got maybe your ID card, you won't be allowed into the station, or somebody can throw you in, or into jail. So all this had happened in the past. Nobody has told any of these stories. People like Segun Lushola or Dr. Kolade. Somebody might come and say, so has happened. I was driving my former husband to work in the morning. I dropped him at the station. By the time I reached home, there had been a coup. Murtala had been killed. And they were under siege, the whole station. Just imagine that kind of scenario. Things like that had happened in the past. But Nigerians don't have that sense of history that wants to sit down and say, well, we want to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Of course, we'll pray that it doesn't happen again. And you wake up in the morning and somebody is announcing something else, different from what you have. A colleague of ours had been, pushed into something that he wasn't aware of. Those are kind of situations that have happened in the past. But this one, we were all dressed in ceremonial costume and trying to, I was the only one that was asked to stay in the presidential, what do you call it, special area that is demarcated for head of states on issues like that. And all of a sudden, the president is following me all about. And I said, this is getting too close for comfort. And I said, what's your name again? I said, my name is Julie Coker. I was trying to play innocent, that I didn't know what was happening. He said, hey, how much did this your dress cost? Can't have, sorry, sir. I don't think I'm the proper person to answer that question, sir. Yeah, you don't have answer. It's a bit unprofessional. I mean, not in the profession per se that we mean, but I wasn't prepared for that kind of thing. So I must have given a rude answer to that. And then, before I knew it, Ade Lanwa, who was then the head of Navy, came to me and said, you have been very rude to the president. The president said, he asked you a question and you couldn't answer. I said, good morning, Mr. President, sir. Because when we introduce them on TV, that's how we introduce them. We're now going to be addressed by a new head of state, Mr. So, sir. And I said he should go and ask the president of Souq. I'm sure he has a record of what the question he's asking me can be better answered by the president of Souq. If he finds that unbearable or rude, then either that one is not doing his work well or I'm not doing my work well and I don't belong here. But I carried on regardless. Shortly after that, another top army officer, Joseph Garuba, that one was the tallest man next to Ufwe Bonye, or the one from Mali. And he said, Julie, I know you can be rude at times. I said, not on this occasion. This is a wonderful occasion for the whole nation. And I'm trying to be my best behavior. And he said, the president said, I'm being very rude to him. He said, I know you, maybe you can say things. And I said, no, I never. He asked how much the dress cost. And I don't think I have an answer, which may contradict what will be on record if you really examine it thoroughly. I was getting very nervous at the time. So I dropped everything and disappeared from the scene, and I never went back again. But the thing reverberated right down to all the committees and members. My late auntie, what's her name? Kentebe, which was a lead commodore of the Navy. She said, Julie, I think she heard that she was going to be sacked that day because the naval officer sent to her and said, you are the one that did this. And I said, can never, God forbid, can never reach me because I'm not in the forces. I'm doing my own job here as a professional broadcaster. I think it has reached a stage now where whatever you say might be taken against you, because there are so many people going to court now and people sent to jail, but things were not as bad as they are now, because some of the gory stories we hear and people being, penalized and sent to jail, I think it has reached an astronomical level that it's something that actually, maybe it was there and people did not want to open the canker worms and let us see what is really happening. In my own case, it was a deliberate attempt on the part of an aunt of mine who felt that there's no child that should continue going to school at a certain age. And they were trying to arrange for me to get married to somebody. And it's a tradition of our people, in Delta, to find out whether the girl is still a virgin. Then they go and look for one old man. It's not this, the one that is happening is child abuse now. I don't know what to call that one. There are other cases too of children being sold into, prostitution and apply this a trade that by some madams, which is not really acceptable. But there are other areas that maybe some parents cannot pay for their children's school fees, so they send them, into child labor or whatever. I think every child should be given a chance to have, proper education. If all can start free and fair education to children, whether all genders, boys and girls, see what the results that have come out of that. But in some other parts of Nigeria, they believe that that it's not acceptable in their religion, and so they still keep the children down and send them into early marriage. And a lot of people have dealt, people like Dr. Simi Johnson, they were in the forefront of that vanguard to liberate the children who have been kept, into powder at age 13. And when they have children, they are not able, either they die, premature deaths from, being too early to go into pregnancies and have the children properly and things like that. Different stages, it's a very serious issue that actually I think has been well looked into, not by the United Nations or by, but the Nigerian government itself should look at it more, more serious terms and try to find how to deal with it. But that's something that happened in some homes, which is now coming out now, which in the past, members of the family will not allow maybe a woman that is a victim. The child is a victim, but there are other, things that sort of trigger down the line, like a wife, for instance, who is watching her husband, trying to abuse children that are under their care. And the children definitely cannot, rise to the level that a child who is being abused at an early stage cannot continue with her education. So I have been involved in issues like that because I was affected as a 13-year-old when an aunt of mine felt that I should stop going to school. But I was rescued by another aunt. So I was lucky at the time. Not many people have been able to, get through all this kind of trauma. I was lucky that just at the time, the man was busy talking to some other people, and it's like somebody being kidnapped and another person coming to your rescue. So I was lucky at my own, to escape that unscathed and get on with my life. If I hadn't gone through, maybe I would have been having 13 children. It's good to have children so that the population will multiply. But then you have to make sure that the children are able to, get on with their education. And when you educate that child, he's able to look after other children. I've raised so many children in the process, because I was able to earn enough money to take care of members of my family. And that is what everybody should sort of, try and rise up to that challenge. Our chief, Folami Koka, was the Babeto of Lagos. So, and I used to accompany him to the palace of Yekon. And someone then said, well, Yeto, why don't you let... He wanted his wife to be the Yeto, but she rejected it. She said she didn't want to because, she thought they were going to perform some fetish. This is really fetish. My brother now turned to me and said, Julie, do you want the title? I said, no, it's not for me to say, because I wasn't terribly keen. But he said he was going to carry out all the preparations. And I said, well, if you're going to do that, why not? And the late Oba Adeyinka Yekon graciously offered me the title. I accepted and went through the ceremony. So I've been a Yeto of Lagos now for getting on 40-something years. We only have one majesty in England. And that is one of the oldest institutions in the world. Some other countries are getting rid of their heads of their traditional rulers. France doesn't have one, for instance. There are some countries in Europe, I think in Finland, that still have, kings and queens and all that. But Nigeria, every little village, every doorstep has one title. This is the palace of the so. It wasn't like that in our own time. You had only one Oba in Lagos. Now you have so many. You have several Obas. This one claiming this and that. It's Osa. It's whatever. After a while, there's going to be a clash. Maybe not in our own time. So if they're playing traditional roles, somebody will lay claim to some title that belongs to somebody else and another one. There's no end to it. So let them stay the way they are now. If they want to multiply, that has nothing to do with me because we don't have any say in that. It's not, because you can say now that this station is trying to sell this idea to be propagating an idea that should not be. I don't think anyone should play any constitutional role. If each one has its own, in the states, at the state level, they take it, I think it's rotated. After a while, one steps down, another one takes over at that level. If they want to go and attend the meeting at the House of Assembly, that's up to them. But at the federal level, I think, no. No. I don't approve of it at all. Because then you have some woman coming on and saying that he's the one that is entitled to the title. It's not, I don't know whether any African country actually accepted that sort of thing. So Nigeria shouldn't start. Nigeria at certain points in any of these things. Once Nigeria starts, other people will start. And before you know it, the whole thing will skyrocket and another war starts. We have enough problem on our hands as it were now. No, we are lagging behind. It's such a terrible shame that we only have about 4 women in the Senate. It's ridiculous. We seem to be dancing backwards. In that regard, I think we're falling short. Totally. There was a time when there were more. There doesn't have to be more women in the Senate. I think there should be maybe 50%. Not even 30-something affirmative, whatever that they're going to Beijing to talk about. There should be more. There should be more women participating in politics. I don't know whether it's because, no. I don't want, I just believe that we should have more women in politics. Because women are more sensible. Women are glamorous, they come out looking beautiful, but their contribution to national issues, I think, more. Look at a man who went to beat up somebody in the hospital, and he says he's a hero. Hero of where? That kind of man should not be allowed to even come and address the press. Maybe the press find it funny humorous to feature somebody like that. There's no woman that will come on TV and speak like that. If you examine every single one of the men, they all have different issues. Some of them have issues about wives and men and things that they have been doing, or they are corrupt and they have been taking money, dipping their hands into different coffers. No woman would do that. I think women are more, serious-minded, and they address issues the way they should be addressed, and they will take more care of issues that affect the nation, girl-child issues, health issues. The men don't even care about health issues. They don't even want to know what's happening. The men even wear bigger agbadas than when they are going to the house. First of all, they should cut down on the amount of clothing that some of them wear. They spend more time thinking of their image, how they're going to appear. Since television has now gone into the chambers, you find that they spend more time, on things like that. And it's ridiculous. We watch other countries, the way their parliamentary issues are being addressed. We're not learning anything from that. We shouldn't be learning from them. They should be coming to learn from us if we're doing the things we're supposed to be doing properly. But if women are really at the forefront of all this, I'm sure that they'll be able to calm all those hot issues that erupt sometimes in the houses. With worry, my mother. I was brought up as an Ichekiri child by my mother. I was taught to sing Ichekiri songs, to speak Ichekiri well, to address issues that affects the people of worry. My stepfather, who also brought had a hand in my upbringing, was an Ichekiri man. So I think that takes care of all those things. Well, I was brought up in Lagos, so I have this dual kind of nationality, and I knew my father came from Egba land, but I didn't have much to do with him. I only have connection with the family, like, Toye Koka, who was my uncle, who took care of me as well, but he was too busy doing other important things. But occasionally when they're having issues in the family, I'm invited like a stranger. But because I speak Yoruba very well, and I passed all my exams, and I used to do all my programs in Yoruba in Ibadan in those days, on radio, WNBS. So I can still hold my head high in that regard. I think I function very well. It's like the King of England. He sometimes goes home to his Greek family. When, Prince Charles, when he was prince, he used to go on holidays with his family from the Greek side. And in fact, it looks like some of them sometimes when they are together. So yeah, I think it's allowed. Well, one of the first one, my 40 years in TV, which is actually showcasing all the my life in broadcasting from the early stages, which actually should have answered some of the questions, was a textbook in Kenya for many years, because the minister came to Nigeria, and my DG then, Mohammed Ibrahim, had a whole box full of the books And he gave them to the minister. And when the minister got there, he requested for more copies of the book. I never got paid for it, but I was delighted that they found the book so interesting. So maybe I'll get someone to serialize the book on TV sometime. We tried to do it some years ago because I cannot be telling the stories all over again. This is about maybe another 30 years story. Again, we've done another sort of edition, My Life in the Limelight, which is the latest one. So if you have time, if you create space, you might be able to tell the stories and take it stage by stage. That's why I sell the book, and also, you know, we get some media attention from sponsors and get things going. The sky will be the limits then. Well, eat well, eat the right food, type of food, eat chicory pepper soup, or anybody else who's cooking pepper soup now, because then you don't have too much oil. I think that damages certain things in the tissues. And if you want to avoid having cancer, there's nobody in my family that has ever died of cancer because of the type of food we eat. So get someone, you know, to prepare. You know, there was a time when Chekuri food was being prepared in the museum, and people used to go there to collect the ingredients and the menu, and people live well. So like people are eating Chinese food, which is good. It's healthy and lots of vegetables. I recommend that for people. I'm not saying that very good health, but I still walk about on crutches. I don't know, my knees are not functioning very well. But still, if you say you paid me compliments, I accept it. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, Supporters Club had been there for 66 years when it was founded officially, but those who funded it were just doing it for the fun. We just come to the field, drum, sing and go. Nobody gave them any recognition. But I joined them in the year 1977. Well, I paid 2 naira to join. And how did I join? It was because of an incident that happened at the National Stadium. The Shooting Stars of Ibadan and the Bendel Insurance of Benin were playing the semi-final of the FA competition that year. And I had to go to enter the stadium. I paid 4 naira to watch the game. But while entering the stadium, the whole place was filled. And when I got inside, there was no place for me to sit down. So many of us were standing out there, people outside the gate of the stadium. There were more than the people right inside. So as at a point in time, while standing, some people just took me off ground and threw me into the crowd. And I started rolling until I landed on the culvert, concrete. Concrete slab. Before I knew it, over 50 people were on my top. And I could no longer breathe. So to me that day, it appeared I was going to die. But through the grace of God I was able to wriggle out myself of that position. And the man directly on top of me had to leave, because what I did was by biting him, and I had to struggle to go under the concrete slab. And I was right there for the first half of the game, 45 minutes. I was right there under the concrete slab. I couldn't watch the game. It was the breeze that was coming from the outer part of the stadium that saved the situation. After the first half, you know, people will get up to go to the toilets, to go and buy drinks and meet their friends. I had the opportunity of coming out, and a good Samaritan gave me a small place to sit. Even at that, I was very unconscious. I was not comfortable. But the game ended. It was a drawn game. When the game ended, everybody left the stadium, but because I wasn't very comfortable, I had to wait in the stadium for like an hour and a half before I left. So when I left and I got home, 9 p.m. network news, breaking news. 32 people died in the stadium that day. And that, the thought came to me. I probably could have been one of them. But I thank God. That was what informed my decision to say, I will not go to the stadium again until I have the best way to go into the stadium without being killed, maimed, or injured. And I decided to move with those people, and I joined them. But then we were just doing it. Maybe 20 of us, 15, 30 of us, we meet under the trees of the National Stadium, and we go home. And since that period, immediately I became a member, I introduced what they call flag bearing. When from 1977 to 1990, every Nigerian team that came out of the tunnel or goes out there outside Nigeria to play, you will see the Nigerian green, white, green flag being carried by one person. It's me. I did that flag bearing for 13 whole years. Whenever the team is played, I will be there with them, whether it's the Super Eagles, the under 20, the under 23, the Falcons, and the rest, all our national teams. Even our club sides going out to play Continental. When you see the green, white, green of Nigeria, I used to be the one carrying that flag. So I was with them, and I rose within the ranks from being an assistant secretary to becoming the national secretary and also the chairman of the disciplinary panel of the Nigerian Football Supporters Club. And by 1990, I was voted to be the chairman. That was when the thoughts of registering the club came. So when you hear that the Nigerian Football Supporters Club founder, officially because of its registration, I did the registration. Registering the club, I moved it from Lagos to Ibadan, Oyo State. I'm an Ibadan man. Charity begins at home, they say. So I went to Ibadan. From Ibadan, I moved to Bauchi. I moved to Abuja, Kano, Port Harcourt, all the states of the Federation. By 1992, I went to Côte d'Ivoire, in Abidjan precisely, to launch the Supporters Club. I went there physically, bringing the Nigerians together, those living in Abidjan, I formed the supporters club and launched it officially. I left that place, I went to Ghana. I launched it in Ghana. Leaving Ghana, I went to Gambia. I went to Burkina Faso. I went to Mali. I went to Republic of Benin. I went to Togo. I went to all the countries of Africa, putting the supporters club in place in those countries. By 1995, I moved to the United States of America. I launched the supporters club at the Giant Sports Stadium in New Jersey in 1995. After that, I went to France in 1997 to launch the supporters club in France in 1997 because we were already thinking of going to France to play in the World Cup. And if the Super Eagles will not have enough supporters there, what will happen to them? Don't forget that I led the supporters club to the United States of America for the very first time we played in the World Cup in 1994. I was at the Copa America in 1995. That was when I had the opportunity of launching the supporters club in America. In 1996, I led the supporters club to Atlanta in 96. And the winning of the trophy, the gold in football event, made possible by the supporters club, support of the supporters club. Because when you listen, when that match, you remember that we played a match with Brazil in the preliminary stage and we lost 1-0. But we had the opportunity again to meet them during the semi-final. And during the semi-final, Brazil had given us 3 goals. We were trailing 1-3 at the interval. And when the second half came up, we were given a penalty, I think 25 minutes to the end of the game. One of our players, I don't want to mention the name, but he knows, he lost that penalty kick. That was when God told me, sing this song. It's a miracle working God. It's a miracle working God. He's the Alpha and Omega. He's a miracle working God. Of course, my members chorused. Indeed, miracle came. We scored the second goal. And the then Minister of Sports, Chief Jim Nwobodo, came to our stand and said, Ladipo, I heard you guys singing, it's a miracle working God. It's like God is going to make a miracle to happen today. I said, yes. And we continued. I changed the song. I have a Father who never fails. I have a Father who never fails. I have a Father who never fails. Who never fail, who never fail, forevermore. Amen. Jesus never fail. Amen. Jesus never fail. Amen. Jesus never fail. Jesus never fail. Jesus never fail. Forevermore. We scored the third goal. Then another song came. Boya chukuna gaza. Boya chukuna gaza mere. Messiah yobiuma. Boya chukuna gaza. The match ended and there was to be the extra time. And that time it was a sudden death rule. Immediately I sang that song, my people chorused. And the ball was coming to Kanu Nwankwo. He was backing the goalkeeper. Chested the ball, raised it up, turned around and tapped it to the net. And that was the 4 goals the Nigerian team scored against Brazil. And they started crying. And I decided to form another song. When Nigeria beat Brazil, when Nigeria beat Brazil, oh, Bebeto start to cry. When Nigeria beat Brazil, why Bebeto? Because they pulled him out. They were thinking they were reserving him because they thought they would meet Argentina in the final. Unknowingly to them, that they will be beaten, they don't know. So I did that song, and we sailed into the final, meeting Argentina in the final. And that again happened. Argentina was leading us 2-1, but we came from 1-2 to beat them 3-2. Yeah, to answer your question, I did that to tell you what the supporters club is to the team. And what this man felt by registering the club is that I have that belief, and it is general, everybody must have it, that this is Nigeria, it's our country. We have to do something by giving it a positive image, whether in Nigeria or outside. You do know that all of us cannot be Mr. President of Nigeria. All of us cannot be governors, and not all of us will be members of the National Assembly. But all of us as Nigerians have special roles to play in giving our country a befitting and positive image. That is the reason why this man has been following football supportership all the time to date. Well, I want to tell you, like I said earlier on, the grace of God has been the secret. The other secret is that my members, I get them reoriented to believe in my vision. All of them supports what I was doing. They all love this country. They want to contribute their own to the good name of Nigeria. That has been the secret. And don't forget, any member of the supporters club should be referred to as a patron par excellence, because they are not paid. They are not given any allowance. They use their time, their money, even at the risk of their lives, to support the cause of Nigeria through supportership. Well, majorly, it is funding. The challenges is funding, because if you have to support the team, yes, they are playing in Lagos, you may not spend much money. But when they are playing in Enugu, they are playing in Uyo, they are playing in Abuja, you need money, no matter how. But come to think of you traveling with 100, 200, 300, 600 supporters outside Nigeria. They will not go by road. They will go by air. It's a lot of money that we need in running the supporters club. So our main challenges has been that of funding. But I can assure you that God has been good to us. We have had some philanthropists, some organizations who have come to assist us by way of supporting us, giving us a lot of money. And if you will not mind, I will have to put it on record that the very first company that supported Supporters Club was Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola did it for 2 years, they could no longer do it. Then for 1 year, MTN did it, they could no longer sustain it. But later we got Globacom. Dr. Mike Adenuga Jr. has been the brain, the backbone, the sponsor and the financier of the Supporters Club for several years, doling out millions from 50 to 60 to 100 million of naira and even in dollars. So that has been the way, that has been how we have been able to surmount it. We have some philanthropists. We have Taiwo Afolabi, who has always supported us whenever we are going out. I remember Alhaji Aliko Dangote in 1996. He supported us. And some other Nigerians too. Esther Ajayi, when we were going to Russia 2018, I went to this woman and I told her our problems. The second day, she was able to give us 20 million. I went to meet the then governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Governor Ambode. He gave me 10 million. The club, not me per se, he gave the club. And then when we were going to Brazil in 2014, that was the very first time any government supported us. We went to Brazil. Before going, I visited the then president, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. After decorating him as our patron, he pronounced a 50 million naira grant for us to go to Brazil. Actually, we were going to request from him a whole plane to take us there because we were going for a national assignment. Supporters Club is a selfless service. But the president gave us 50 million. I mean, Goodluck Jonathan. But we ended up spending 189 million. The difference of that was raised by me going to Dr. Mike Adenuga, Taiwo Afolabi, Esther Ajayi, Ambode, and the rest. That's how we've been running the club. We've been running the club, meeting people who lost the game of football, who lost Nigeria, and they have been helping us. Well, very, very unfortunate. It's a story I hate to be talking about all the time because I've said many things about it more than 100 times. Supporters Club had been there for several years. And Dr. Rafiu Ladipo was the national chairman for just 10 years, from 1990 to 2000. I left that position in 2000. And then somebody else became the national chairman. And that was Alhaji Waidi Anderile Yusuf, who was the chairman for 8 good years. After him, there was Otumba Olatunde Bashorun. He was there for 4 years. And there came a time when one Mr. Vincent Okumagba acted in that capacity for 3.5 years. And there was one little mistake, misunderstanding, because people will not want to wait for their time. And all I told them is, please go through an election. Anybody who would not want to go through an election is not supposed to be on that chair of the national chairman. That's what came up. And the then NFF believed that there could be 20 arms of supporters clubs in Nigeria. It could even run to 100 units. But this is unhealthy. You cannot have a situation where your team is playing right on the field and you have different corners where you have the Nigerian supporters scattered all over the field, singing in different voices. It's not good. But look, I've been able to manage it because God has told me that supporters must not die. Supporters Club will not die. I have to be patient to let them see reasons why the Supporters Club should go and support the teams with unity. As a unit, go and support the team. But if you have funded your own, maybe you have registered your own, you have your own office, you can stay in your office. Manage your office the way you want to manage it. But when it becomes a national assignment, You are going out to represent Nigeria. All of us as supporters must come together to support Nigeria as a group supporting one team. Not when you have some people in angle 90, some people in angle 180, some people in angle 360, some people in angle 60, supporting one team. It does not augur well. There's nothing you are going to achieve from this. I remember when we were in Russia, and my members have gone in. I normally wait for all of them to go in before I will finally go in. So when I was going in as the last person, I entered the stadium, and I saw them, some people were up there, I saw some people on the left, I saw some people on the right. And when I was going to meet the band boys, some of their security men came to me, in Russia, and asked me where I was going. I said I was going to meet my people. They said I should bring their ticket, my ticket. And when they saw the ticket, no, you can't go there, go there. That place is not yours. Your seat is downstairs there. How do I coordinate the activities of my members? This is what we've been telling them. Supporters Club must be united. They must come together, sing together, cheer the team together, and let us have a befitting result. When the referee and all the match officials see a group of people, even if you are 200 or 300, converging in one special place together, in your uniforms, in your green and white, and you are singing, they know you have come to support your team. So it takes them every reason to want to do the game better. Well, when you are not there, in a capacity crowd of 90,000, we had 5 supporters here, 2 there, 7 there. When the Argentines were about 87,000 in the field, singing for their team. So I believe that the Supporters Club must be together. I've been able to manage it now, up to now. The national chairman of the Supporters Club as we speak is Reverend Samuel Ikpeya. He coordinates the activities of the Supporters Club in Nigeria. While worldwide, I'm the President General because we are Supporters Club in all the other countries of the world. And when we come together, there must be one person. There must be the head. We have the president of the Supporters Club in Cote d'Ivoire. We have the chairman of the Supporters Club in UK. In all Francophone countries, the head of the Supporters Club is called president. In Anglophone countries, the head of Supporters Club is addressed as Mr. Chairman. So the President General is not just what we just came out with. It's because there's a need for it. That's why the President General worldwide comes up. Well, I have told you a lot of people don't want to wait for their time. And when you don't wait for your time, what do you lose? You lose much. There was going to be an election. And I called all of them, go and pick your nomination papers for the election. But some of them would not want to because they want appointments. And I don't believe in appointments because we have a constitution in the Supporters Club that says everybody and anybody who wants to be an officer must contest for election. I insisted that there must be an election. Some people would not want an election because they know, probably they believe they cannot win. They decided to say, oh, let's go our way because we don't want election. That's it. Before now, up to about 8 years, 10 years ago, the Super Eagles were really super. But in the last 8 years, we have not been there. We have not been doing well. Don't forget that in 1994, Nigeria's team, the Super Eagles, were judged to be the 5th best in the world. What is our ranking now? 37th in the world. Even in Africa, what is our ranking? So the Eagles of the last 8-9 years ago, no, they have not done well at all. I want anybody to tell me, what did we win in the last 8-9 years? Don't forget that in 1980, we won the Cup of Nations right here at the National Stadium. In 1994, we were in Tunisia. We won it. In 2013, we were in South Africa. We won the Cup of Nations. In 1996, we won the Atlanta Olympics. Since then, what can we point to that we have won? So the Eagles of the last 8-9 years, no. They did their best, but their best was not good enough for Nigeria. And that's why we didn't win nothing. But I want to believe that the present crop of Eagles being put together now, going for the Cup of Nations, we want to write their names in gold. And if that is so, it means they have to put in their best to see that going to Cote d'Ivoire 2024 will not just be going there to make a number. We're going there to give a very good account of ourselves. Who says it is not possible for Nigeria to win the Cup of Nations again? It is possible, but it takes a determined group of people as players who wants to write their names in gold to do that. When you are rating the coach, a coach is as good as his last match. Pasero was employed, he was given a target, and the NFF has the power to either sack or renew his contract. I think according to them, maybe he has performed according to what they want. But for me, as a Nigerian, I want Pasero to go to Cote d'Ivoire and show us that he is serious, and show us that the Super Eagles can still fly, and make us get minimally play in the semi-final of the Cup of Nations. Anything short of that, no. Well, I want to believe that our Nigerian coaches are good. There have been 2 or 3 foreign coaches that have done well. Westhoff, Bonfrejo, and this witch doctor, what's his name again? I'll remember his name. This guy qualified us to play in the World Cup with a match to go. The witch doctor. Well, the witch coach, we call him, we remember it will come back. So, since then, there's no foreign coach that has done better. I was one of the people that went to London to recruit this man I'm talking about. When we recruited him, he came to Nigeria, and he made us to qualify for the World Cup with a match still to go. Philippe Trouzet. I was there in England where we interviewed him. Well, since then, it has been one coach coming to take our money, not giving a very good account of us, of himself. But the Nigerian coaches, let's also praise some of them. Some of them. The late Shuaibu Ahmadu qualified us to play in the World Cup, even though he did not take us there. The late Stephen Keshi also made us to win the Cup of Nations of 2013 in South Africa. So if that happens, who says the Nigerian coaches are not good? Some Nigerian coaches have proved themselves, but they still need to do more. But these 2 coaches, exceptional. That is the real reason, the real controversy we're having between the NFF and the coaches. You don't hire a coach if you know you cannot pay his wages. You must be ready to pay his salary as at when due. There's no coach who will labor and labor, and after which he would have trained your players, and you are owing him salaries of 5 months, 7 months. Which coach will take that? Where is that happening across the world? Nobody will accept that. So that has to be looked into. And that is why the NFF has got to look for serious sponsors and raise funds for them to be self-sufficient, to be able to take all these challenges of paying the coaches wages. That is a big problem. And I think the present NFF board, led by Ibrahim Guzo, will look into that, look for sponsors, serious sponsors who are interested, not just interested, but who are genuinely interested in the Nigerian game and in the Nigerian nation. You may be interested in the Nigerian game, but if you are not interested in the Nigerian game, Nigerian nation, you may not give what it takes to do. You must have the love of this country at heart, and then love the game also. In the last 15, 10, 8 years, our boxing went down. In the last 5 years to today, our boxing has come up. I am the president of the Nigerian Boxing Board of Control, and I confirm to you that every week now, we have a boxing championship. We had one last week. Tomorrow, we will have one in Abuja. When I come back the following week, there's another one. We have promoters now promoting our boxing events. And our boxers are now earning big money, other than what they were earning before. In those days, they were earning 20, 30,000. They go on the ring, they hit them, they shed blood, and they sweat. What do they earn? But since the last 3, 4 years, our boxers have been earning big money. Some of them earning millions. Some of them traveling abroad to earn $5,000, $10,000. And that is made possible because we have a group of people in the Nigerian Boxing Board of Control who respects each other, who respect the boxers, who respects the coaches, and who respects the promoters. Take, for instance, I'm sorry to mention, Go TV. Go TV night every day. They've had about 29 Go TV sessions. You know what that means? Go TV for every boxing fight. They don't spend less than 20 million. They even spend more. And our boxing now is being watched all over the world, if not just Africa. A lot of things have been said about this. We have sent memos, we have sent advice, we have met with the people in charge severally. I've had to write to put the Minister of Sports, the National Assembly, and the rest. How can we develop our sports? It's very important. Without grassroots development, you won't be there. As a matter of fact, Kanu Nwankwo happens to be a product of the Nigerian League. J.J. Okocha, product of Nigerian League. Finidi George, Emmanuel Amunike, and all of them played in the Nigerian League. How many of our Super Eagles players, those that are playing for us now, do you see what developed here? Maybe you have 2 or 3 home-based players playing. But the real product for our football development, they are here in Nigeria. We have to go back to those things we were doing that time when we got the likes of the Segun Odegbami, Henry Nwosu, Christian Chukwu, down to what is it, Stephen Keshi, Okocha, and the rest. We have to go back. We don't have to rely on those players who have been serving us in the last 12, 15 years, believing that they will continue to serve us the same way. No matter what you do, players will get weak. They will age. And when they are aging, that's when they start referring to them as tiring legs. You need replacements for them. How do you get that? You can only get them from the local scenes. We have various clubs in Nigeria playing the leagues, the Premiership, the National League, and the rest. 20 teams in one. Do you know how many of our boys out there that can play football if we harness them, bring them together, and give them the right training? Of course, let me ask you, how many of our club sides have feeder teams? Feeder teams, they are very important to the development of the game. When you have a junior player playing the feeder team and is maturing, bring him to replace a tiring leg. In the senior team, how many of those teams that we have can boast of feeder teams? How many of them can boast of their own fields? Perhaps we have about 3 clubs that are privately owned. But others are owned by governments, state governments. And state governments, what do they use them for? For political gains. And if it is political gains, well, it's off it. Let's do football like it is done elsewhere. Football is big business. People are making billions of dollars in football. Nigeria can do same. If we do same, we will take off all this nonsense. The boys going about doing a lot of violence, going to do yahoo, going to do kidnapping and the rest. You will have all of them looking forward to becoming millionaires and billionaires in future, and of course becoming employers of labor apart from fending for their families. Above 50 football. Yeah, it's above 50. I'm the chairman worldwide for that. And my president is Ambassador Edward Olutoke, who has given his support, his finances to be able to do this game. The thing is this: if you have played football, you have played up to the